Okay, hey guys. Silverbeam here of Silverbeam Dolls and Silverbeam Creations. I thought I'd bring you with me as I go and work on some modeling today. I will be making a Sailor Moon's or Sagi's Sailor Moon stick. And it will be the rendition from the anime Crystal version, which is based a little bit more closely but a little bit different than the manga version. And as you can see, I have a Photoshop open here, and I wanted to show you what I did to prep. So I found an image. It had already someone had already grabbed a bunch of Sailor Moon's items and stuck them on a sheet. So I grabbed the image of the stick, copied it, pasted it in a new layer, and then rotated it so that it was as close to straight up as I could, and then save that in the background, save that as a JPEG image somewhere where I know where I can find it. And then I'm opening my 3D modeling program. Now the program that I use is Lightwave, and you can use any modeling program that you're comfortable with. There's a lot of different programs that you can use: 3ds Max, Maya, ZBrush, Blender's the free one. This is what I was trained on at the Digital Animation and Visual Effects School down here in Orlando, Florida, over at in the back lot of Universal Studios, which was kind of fun because you'd go outside to stretch and see the sun, and you'd hear screaming because there's a roller coaster just over the fence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press D as the shortcut for display options, and I'm going to go to backdrop, and I'm going to go to the viewport and pick the bottom left, which is my back, and I'm going to go to image, load image. So that basically let me choose which panel screen the image will be displayed at. I'm going to grab that, open it. Now I model strictly mainly for 3D printing, so it's a little different than what I would do if I was modeling for a high quality render artwork, or if I was going to do like a video game asset or like a poser type program. There's different ways that you model depending on what your outcome is. So with 3D modeling in mind, I keep in mind the type of printer that I'm printing with. I'm printing with a FDM or fused deposit modeling type printer, which is very similar to a hot glue gun, except much higher temperature and of course much more finer details, that kind of thing. And so I keep that in mind, and because of that, I'm going to be printing, creating the item in parts that will be glued or, you know, have a peg to, or inset somehow to fit together, so that I can print the parts in different colors, so I don't have to do any painting. Because my filament is these long spools of plastic, sort of really, really long, you know, thick spaghetti noodles. Like your really thick spaghetti noodles. It's a 1.75 millimeters, I believe, is the diameter of my filament. It's got different, so I've got like a transparent, so that's what I plan to do for the crystal part. And then my infill will do sort of this cross lattice. I'm hoping that'll give sort of the crystal effect. And then the different components. So you can see that I've got the image in the back. And since I am going for 3D printing, I'm going to adjust the image size to about probably how I want to scale it. Now my items, I not only do human-sized items, but I also do doll-sized items. So Asian ball-jointed dolls is a lot of the things that I do. And I do a subscription box service for dolls and for us humans, my geek boxes over on my Patreon. So definitely take a look at that, my links in the description. Alright, but I'll try and pop on because I am live streaming it, but I'm not expecting, I didn't announce it or anything, so I'm not expecting anyone to pop in. But I will at one point or another try make a quick pop on to the YouTube and see if anybody has said anything, if there's any questions, if anybody showed up. So if you do, definitely just go ahead and throw them up, and I'll see if I can find them, or find me on my Facebook or different Instagram and ask me any questions there, or in the comment section, and I'll try to answer them at some point or time or another. Alright, so we've got the display image, we're going to resize it. So I probably should have done this before the live stream, was to calculate exactly how large I want my items. Now, human scale, I'm just going to say it's going to be maybe 10 to 12 inches. Do you know what? I do centimeters because my program's in centimeters, which is much easier to calculate. So we're going to be looking at, I've just got myself my, especially when you only need to eyeball it, I've got myself a ruler here, and I'm holding on to my ruler to get the human size and thinking about the design. And so I'm thinking about how long, so I've got my hand somewhere around here, and then I'm thinking, okay, this much, I slide my hand up from the bottom, and like, okay, for the lower half of the wands, I'm gonna say it's probably around that much, and then above where my hand is holding, for this part, you know, maybe leaving a little bit of a hand gap. And then the crystal is probably, or the crescent moon part's probably going to be about there. So I'm going to try and size this to be about 28 centimeters. I think that'll be a good size. And I can, of course, always come in here and readjust. But sometimes things, it's easier if you do... if you go in and measure what you need at one time, because sometimes you'll, like when I automatically resize, the walls get really thick and it takes more material than is needed and things like that, or vice versa, things become too small and too I didn't make them thick enough and things like that. So because I'm 3D printing, I have to keep the size that I model in is kind of important. If I was doing pretty much anything else, it wouldn't be as important. We're gonna go 28. And then zoom in. Yep. So we're now at 28 millimeters, but we actually want 28 centimeters. There we go. Yeah, make sure you don't get your millimeters and centimeters or your feet and inches mixed up. Alright, so we've got that. I'm going to turn on pixel blending just so it's a little less pixely and crank up the image resolution on that. Alright, so now we have our background image, and that will be our guide. Try and find the best straight head-on, not at a weird angle image that you can find. Especially sometimes with anime and things like that, it is really hard to find some good reference, especially since manga and anime and things, the proportions and details seems to change on a whim according to the animators or the artist. It's not always consistent. Alright, so we are actually going to start off with the bottom. That'll be easy. So I have, as you can see up here, Lightwave is pretty much all text. It doesn't have like you know, like your Photoshop has lots of images, as you can see here, you know, icons. So actually, if you're not familiar with like a Photoshop or whatever, you might get really confused. Like, I don't know what this weird scribble. What does that represent? I don't know. So I actually kind of like that light wave is text. It's overwhelming at first because we're so used to seeing icons and things in programs. But it's actually easier because if you can know what the tool is called, you can come to, you know, Maya or another modeling program and be like, okay, I need to find this tool. And then, you know, once you read it, you're like, oh, ball. I know what a ball is. I'm pretty sure that's what I need. So. And ball is indeed ball. We are making a ball. Now I am going ahead and making this, like I said, size is kind of important. But I do want this to be for cosplay as well. I'm gonna press N, which is for my numeric window, and this is kind of like where I can input settings. So here I can make sure that my ball is perfectly round. So you can see the radius is 6, 6, 6 across the board down here. And you can tell it how many sides, how many segments, and, you know, where it's, you know, on the thing. Oh, I forgot I can tell things to tessellate. But we want regular globe. Alright. I'm actually going to... do I want to bump up or do I want to... Yeah, I'm going to bump up the geometry so I don't have to... So it'll look pretty smooth. And not have any weird... And they kind of have it where segments are half of what your sides are, and that's generally a pretty good rule of thumb. Alright. Now that I'm starting to model, I'm trying to think of how I want this to play out. How do I want to print it? What directions? Because that will actually affect how I want to model it. Like if I want to do straight up, and again, it'll be in parts. So like the moon part will be printed as a separate part. But like if I want to do the wand part and have it straight up, then I would probably want to do the ball separate. And then that would give me a flat surface for it to sit on the plate as it's building and give it stability, and it'll stick and it won't like fall over in the middle, you know, because it's trying to balance on this tiny ball. But if I want to print it on its side, I could probably leave the ball. And it would be a little faster. And you gotta, especially with this FDM type printer, you gotta think where are the printing lines, because that'll be the, you know, because then it'll want to break easier that direction rather than opposed to the other. And, you know, the look of the item after its print, especially if you're not going to do any sanding and things like that. And sorry if my throat's a little and my voice is a little blah. I'm got the last vestiges of, you know, a bad cold on top of a convention that I just came from, so I'm still kind of recovering from a whole lot of stuff. But, you know, we gotta get back to the grind. I rested yesterday, so... Regardless of either direction, I can probably leave that off and glue that on. And the easiest way to do that is probably going to be to put it this way. And another thing, I'm going to turn on symmetry, because I want my left and my right side to be perfect symmetry, at least for the lower half. The crystal obviously is not symmetric, but that'll help keep things looking nice. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the top half and just kind of not really slice it, but flatten it so that I have a space or flat surface that I'm just going to actually glue the bottom part to the top. You can see it's just flat there. For the sort of the handle or the grip area, we're gonna go into create, and we're gonna go and look at our options. So we had like the primitives, this primitive shapes. We're gonna go disk. And again, I'm gonna open up my numeric, so I've got the same. Now you can see that the way that they drew this, the bottom was kind of angled, while the rest of it wasn't really angled, just so that they could get the detail or whatever in there. And you can see that even though I tried to get the image kind of centered, again, it's not like they sat there with a rule and made certainly perfect that everything was symmetric. So you're just gonna have to pick one side and kind of stick with it, or, you know, whatever looks like it looks right. Because you can see this one goes over this length, and this one goes over that length, so just kind of do a happy middle. Do 12. And again, I would either go less or more with how many sides you have. If you're going to NURBS or subdivision, make things look smooth, then you would do, you know, less. But I'm actually, since this is simple and I don't need to worry about, because this will be a different part, so it'll be just this part. Actually, since we want to do different colors, we're just doing the end cap. So we're just gonna crank it up to thick as I think will be necessary. Let's try 60. You know what? We're gonna go down and do subdivision. And we'll do 12. Now, a multi-sided polygon is not going to subdivide. So what we'll do is we're going to delete the top and bottom polygons. And then we can press tab. And now you can see, even though I still have the same amount of sides, it's perfectly smooth. And to kind of replace the bottom, and I'm not going to worry about the top yet, but the trace at the bottom we're just going to do. Extrude, and I just used a shortcut button, so E, and that will make new geometry. Let me angle this so you can see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to resize down. E, press E again for extrude. Resize down and try to make sure that your cursor is in the middle. And we're just gonna go and we will resize that. I'm using the size tool, which is on the modify tab. So I'm just using a shortcut, which is capital H. Now I shrunk it so that all of those points in that circle is at the same exact point in space, so that I can just select it, and it looks like I'm only selecting one point, but I'm actually selecting, you know, 12. I'm going to press Control W, and that's going to weld all those points together. Right now I'm just making sure things are centered how I want them to be. So this is me being anal, so I'm not going to explain what I'm doing right now. Sometimes when you rescale things, they get a little offsetter, so that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm pressing A, which automatically centers what you have selected. And I did explain it, so congratulations. Alright, so now I have a bottom. You can work on manipulating points, you can work on manipulating edges, and you can work on manipulating polygons. For this, I'm going to be manipulating polygons, or not polygons, edges. So I have my edge selected. And you can see it's got a nice thick lower band, and then it's indented, and then a smaller band on top. That's what I'm going to work on. Because that's angled, I have to eyeball it a little bit since I don't have a very good, I could measure. Looks to be about almost 5. Almost 5, so looks like I got it about. So, and again, I'm going to extrude, make sure my icon cursor is in the center line. And then I'm going to scale in. Make sure we get a nice indent going. And with 3D printing, sometimes exaggerating these kind of elements just a little bit. Make sure that the details really pop, especially if you're going to be sanding and doing other things. And zoom back out. Now if I want a tighter line, I'd put more geometry. Watch, I'm going to select polygon mode, and I'm going to hit the right arrow button. That's going to select the entire loop. Just a nice little shortcut, so I don't have to go in and select all the polygons by hand. But if I press L, which will subdivide and put another line through, you can see how that's sharpened up. Same thing with this. If I wanted that to be sharper, I'd press L. But I don't think it's really necessary, so I'm not going to. But I did want the top part a little sharper just because I need it to have a nice flat surface for the bottom to connect to the top pink column hand grip area. And in the lower left, you can see there's a position, and it's got like where my icons and stuff is positioned, and some other detail. And that's kind of what I use to make sure that I am in the middle. Angle this just to see what I'm doing. Now I'm actually going to there's one way I can leave it flat, but I think I'm going to do a little bit of an indent for the top part to fit into the bottom part, just so that it looks a little bit better. Or it's easier to snap and fit. Now this is again why it would be important to kind of size at how you want to do it, because you want to make sure you give yourself enough of a wall. Thickness, because I mean if it's too small, it ain't gonna work. on a nice sharp wall, so we're gonna go in and add some more geometry to make sure that's nice and sharp. Another way to get that sharp without adding so much geometry that way would be to select the geometry you want nice and sharp, and I'm gonna go ahead and select the entire top there as well. And down on the bottom right, kind of some shortcuts here. We're gonna go to W, which is weight, and I'm going to select under the drop down menu sub patch weight. So this is gonna add a weight to my subdivision. So I need to go all the way over to map, and I'm gonna set map value. Value one is currently at 0%. I want it a little bit stronger, so we're gonna go try 50% and see if that'll, and you can see it got much sharper. But it also made it more angular, which is not what we want, so we're gonna undo that. Go with the original method. Which is to add lots of geometry to constrain the proportions a bit. Alrighty, just like that. And while we're doing this, it's always a good idea to save your object as you work. So save. Right. Now I am actually going to, for the next part, I'm gonna select a lot of the geometry we made. Ugh, I'm gonna be annoyed at the thing. Alright, so I'm gonna right click and drag, and so I can select a lot of things at once. And I don't want this outer. There we go. So I'm gonna select the top and then that inner indent. I'm gonna copy. I'm gonna go to new layer and I'm gonna paste and then flip it. So I will have the exact same. And you know what? I can just tell that I didn't quite center things, because you can see it's a little wonky that way. We're gonna see if we can't get that fixed, because it will bug me and it might cause problems down the road. So it's easier to move one line rather than like a whole bunch at a time. So I just merged all of those rows together by selecting the polygons down the line of what I wanted to merge, and then I went to construct, and then under more on the reduce I went to band glue, and it glued all those bands together. Alright, and I'm going to be doing more of what I was doing earlier, where I press F2 It's not A, it's F2. A will center your camera, what you're looking at. I'm just going and trying to fix it as best as I can. Another thing I can do, which I'm actually tempted and I might do, is to go ahead and select one side of it. Press H, which is another resizing tool. And then go to the line, or go to center. And then carefully making sure you don't go left or right, but scale that down. Delete, and we're gonna mirror. So I have this is the Z axis, so we're gonna mirror Z. Now for those who 3D print or are into 3D printing or going to be getting into 3D printing, Z is back and forth, you know, front back in 3D modeling and 3D space. But for some reason on printers, 3D printers, Z is up and down. Why? Keep that in mind for your printers. Alright, now we've got it hopefully fixed. And the reason why I did that weird sizing thing where I flattened half of it was to make sure that the points were all exactly lined up on the X axis, so that when I copied and mirrored, the points would automatically merge and connect into one solid object again. Alright, so and we're just making things all nice again. Okay, and you can see on the bottom right window, everything looks nice and aligned and very good. Okay, so let's keep on keeping on. Okay, so we have the top and the inner inset. Paste in a new layer. We're gonna flip it. And just to make sure that we don't have, it's not too tight, we're gonna select just the dip part. And we're gonna scale it just a teeny bit smaller. About 2 to 3%. Probably more like 2%. There we go. And if I go on the top right, it's got like my different layers. And if I hit just the bottom corner, I can put the other layer in the background. Alright, so try and get it so just a little bit of space from the other one. Okay. we're ready to build the next part. Grab the outer edge and E to extrude. Kind of want a tight edge there, so we're gonna keep it pretty close. And you can see this one, it's got kind of a gap, so we're gonna go and actually adjust it so that they're a little bit more closer together. We highlight the two together, you can see we've got a little bit of an edge. It is alright. I think that'll be fine. Alright. So again, we're gonna grab our edge and we're gonna build up the next part. Kind of gonna follow along. Looks like it indents a little bit and then goes up pretty much straight. And bows back out. Resize that out a little bit more, just trying to get a nice shape. As always, you know, zoom out and check and like what's going on. I mean, if we had it too close, it would leave a weird there. So. And to me, even though we kind of guessed the right size, it looks like those bands on the bottom are a little small. I might go back and make them a little bigger. I want to resize the inside just out. Maybe make the indent just a little bit less. A little better, I think. And the cap might actually go over a little bit. You can always, of course, make sure to grab multiple reference images. And see, like in this picture, it definitely looks like the cap goes over. And it's more like, you know, not really an indent. It's more like two bands together. So, glad we pulled that back up. So we can kind of fix that. It looked a little off and I wasn't sure why, and now it makes sense. That's looking much better. Much more accurate. When you're doing a copy or, you know, referencing for something, it's automatically not going to be 100% accurate. It's really hard. Especially when your reference is all over the place. Now, since this is a cap and kind of goes over, we could, instead of having a much smaller indent in the middle, do a much bigger indent on the sides and have the whole thing actually indent. But I kind of like what I've got going on there, so I think we'll be alright. I am, however, going to raise this just up a little bit. Just mainly for aesthetic reasons, so it matches the top a little bit more. Now, I'm not sure if that's the case. The moonstick, it does look like it's got a little bit more heavier to the top, but, you know, artistic license, I guess. Alright. So, you've got that. Again, we've got another cap. I'm actually gonna shrink just a little bit. We're gonna close up the top here. Like I have done in other areas. Make sure I don't have any other points except the ones that I want. Control W to weld the 12 points together. And I'm going to grab all the points at the top and make sure that they are flat, all the same. Right. Our points on the Y axis. Okay. And this time I'm going to do what I didn't do on the bottom, which is I'm going to make the cap so that it just fits over. Copy. Paste. And this time we don't need to flip it. We're going to scale up a little. Actually, we need to flip it. We're going to do the other way. Flip it. We're going to scale it up just a little bit. Again, it's just so that it's not too tight. And we're going to grab the edge here. We're going to extrude and then we're going to resize up quite a bit because we're building the outside wall. I want to make sure we have enough space and enough thickness that it prints well. Oh, and you can see I wanted to not center things. Sometimes with the symmetry on, sometimes without. This particular program doesn't quite want to center, doesn't always center things. It centers where you put it here, but not in this window, but not in that window. So, to do that, I'm going to center in the top down window so that it knows to do it on all sides. The unfortunate problem is that it also will change the Y. bring that back down. We are pretty much just making a single band. Again, I've gotten off from the middle somehow. Probably when I was working on the other stuff, so I'm actually going to undo a lot of what I did so I can do this correctly. Make sure I'm centered. Wanting to grab the points from the bottom and the top, which is no bueno. Alright. No. There we go. Now that I made sure I've selected what I want. And then I need to make this flat. And then there's a top. Cap. You can see there's a lot of space, so I'm going to come in here and scale that a little in. A little tighter. Let's look what we've got so far. All right. There we go. So, that is what we have so far. I'm going to make that band a bit bigger. That looks much more matching. And again, we're going to save, because saving is your friend. I'm going to see how long we've been going for. almost an hour, about 51 minutes. Alright, so we'll go a little farther. See if we can knock out the rest of this fairly quickly. I might do a little bit less description than what I'm doing now, because a lot of it will be similar. And to speed things up. Since I want to make sure that I want to do an proper indent built, so I might start off with the center crystal and then do some of the other geometry from that. But at the same time, I want a nice metric, so probably won't work so as easily. So I'm probably gonna have to do the outer circles, and then I'll do the inner sort of geometric shape, and then just kind of bridge the two together. But let's go ahead and start. Let's just go ahead and do the outside, because that'll be easy. So we don't need nearly that many sides. And enter this into a layer. It's tab so it gets all nice and smooth. And kind of need a flat top, so I'm going to grab the top and flatten it. And I'll worry about the connecting points in a minute. Probably do like a peg system. Make it just a little bigger. Yeah, that looks a bit more accurate. Right there, I think. Alright, we're going to take the top and do the pink part. And since this will probably just glue on, we'll just leave a flat back. There we go. Why that didn't do what I wanted to do the first time. Alright. Make the two surfaces flat, 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 flat so that they meet up nicely together. Oh, we're gonna add. So I don't want in the center, which is what the line tool does automatically. I'm gonna grab the knife tool and cut exactly where I want my line to help me get flat. Actually, I'm gonna go a little bit less distance because I don't want those two point lines to be too close or they're gonna automatically merge. Actually, making those a little bigger. Yeah. And I'll probably mirror so that the front is the same as the back. Well, maybe not. I don't want the exact same. Okay. I might actually delete some of the back. Because we're gonna have to indent. Change. We may have to play with things. Alrighty. No. It's all of trying to get things to look the way they are supposed to. Alrighty. Got that. Looks about the right size. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab the exact shape on the other side because I don't have a lot of room to play with. Okay, so we've got an indent. The jewel. Copy just one side so that we can make the cup that's in. Again, make it just a little bit smaller so it's not super tight. We're doing a cheat here, so we're extruding my hand since I'm just making a, since that's the exact, I'm making sort of a cup shape. I don't need to change the geometry at all. What I'm gonna do is then scale it smaller and then bring it up. Now we have that. Sorry, I don't know exactly how to explain that well, so forgive me. Now we don't want this indent on our outer ring. I'm gonna make that a bit sharper. We're gonna bring some of the geometry in. We're gonna do a little bit of both. We're gonna do a little bit of this. This in a little bit. And we're just making the shape to get sort of a softer edge going. Yeah, that's way too sharp of a band. And too high. Yeah, that looks better. Alright, I'm gonna go to the other one and then put that, making sure, yeah, so you've got some intersecting geometry right there on the edge. To make that a little bigger. Maybe touch down. Might be a little tight, but that should hopefully be pretty good. Pretty close. Right now I'm just making sure that I've got a nice flat part for when I need to print. Now the other thing was, since this is on top of that, yeah, see, that would, like that, and be an issue. So I need to go in here and make a groove for that to fit in. That side, I need this side. Now I could make sure that it's exact, but I'm just kind of eyeballing this one. Get the proper fit, because it doesn't really need to be exact for this one. May mean I need it won't be a tight fit, and I might need more glue. Stay. Guess there'll be a bigger gap. So if you wanted to do that, so it was more exact, you would copy the bottom and then cut out this one and kind of stitch the two parts together. Don't think it's really necessary. Do want that to be much closer though. Try to make sure. Gosh. I can also cheat since I'm using an FDM printer. Something I want a little bit, but quite 100%, I can use a little bit of heat, like a hair blow dryer, to kind of help meld a little bit. Like I'd heat up the part that goes on top, and I'd heat it up the back, and then kind of press down and kind of form fit it just a teeny bit more. And we're gonna we have so far. I'm gonna shape out the back a little bit more. Sort of round this out a little bit. For now, I may just play with that shape, but for now, that's what I've got going on for it. You can I did put this down, but I don't like that. It just looks like it's buried. We're gonna raise that up. There. Again, at least for now. Oh, you can see that when I scaled some of this, it went a little wonky. There we go. Save. Almighty saves. Alright, we're gonna grab the inside of our new center decal to make the crystal. How the out is, again, a lot like what we've been doing. Bring it up. And I'm gonna look at my reference. Goes pretty much straight up. Oh. Okay. It's excited. I don't remember what 5-side is pentagram or what 6-side is. Got a 6-sided poly. Pardon me. Something feeling not so happy in my throat. I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab a little bit of water. My throat was not happy. Still isn't that happy, but do our best to ignore it and continue on, and hopefully that'll not bother me. It'll go away. Ugh. Always hate the leftover gunk from a cold. The shape actually reminds me of the Zelda rupee, but at a more rounder rather than elongated. Alright, so see if we can do this. Gonna do let's do that subdivision weight thing that we were doing earlier, but I'm only gonna do it for the top part. Right, so I need to go to map value 5. Oh, but you notice I don't have a 6-sided. This is worse. So we might merge some points together. Put on my texture wire. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We need it to be half of what we have. Right, so if I can't get this shape. 1 much. Draw that shape on a piece in front of me so it'll stare me in the face. pardon me. Oh. Press the right. Pressing the right buttons would also help. Yep. Okay. Yep. I do. I gotta remember what I did. Strange. All over the place. Get it to match. That matches. There we go. Now we just gotta fix the... What I'm gonna do. Eat all of you. Thing, but let's give this a shot. I really wanted it. Construct bridge. I went to my construction tab and then press the bridge tool. That will connect the two, either the two edges together, the two polygons together that you have selected, as they're in like the same layer and stuff. This is probably the trickiest thing we'll be doing on this build, so. Alright, now we're gonna take the flat top part, and with our sub patch weight, we're gonna check on it. Got it with we don't have any geometry left over merge things floating in the air. Now, it's a little weird because we've got that sort of the back, which is not the same as the rest of the. It'll fit in better. What I'm gonna do to help with that a little bit. Down, inset that part a bit. And get alright. A little odd, but the only other thing was to put a square peg in a round hole. This is putting a round back so that it'll fit in the round hole but still have the square peg on the outside. That makes sense. We don't have any intersecting geometry. A few points that are just entire thing. Just and again, if we hate it once we print it and put it in, we can redo stuff. Always remake it. We like it. And for the jewels on the outside, just hemispheres. half sears. We'll do it in the same layer. Flatten the back. So you gotta make a little extra geometry. Be a little flat on the sides. Just make it a little to with. Alrighty, so almost there. Gotta still do the attachment for that part, and then the attachment segment for up above. And then the moon. Go back to this part. Oh, these got pasted to the wrong one. Grab those. This is where we need to finalize and make that back shape exactly how we want it. I may go a little thinner. Then it looks better. We'll leave it how we did. Okay. So, copy and make a layer. Flatten that part. And then I have some overlapping geometry. Overlapping. That away and make having an use. Question is, do I want to make a hole and have it set? Probably with that amount of weight, probably would be a good idea. Make it smaller so it'll fit in. It's a simple 4x4, so we probably are in. Getting the right holes for everything is not always easy. What we're gonna do is actually use this a little up. We'll fit it to that instead. Okay. And then we'll try and fit or reshape the part. Fit that. We might actually use kind of like what we did earlier. We're gonna grab the together. Obviously, a tree. So yeah. Point. Into the right. Sorry for the boring parts. That is what it is. This item will be for my my doll subscription boxes. This month's theme is sort of a cosplay Halloween. Fun. Alright, let's see if my tool can do it. But first, before you do any sort of tricky tool things that has to do some heavy calculating, definitely save your project first. We're gonna try the bridge. And we've done it. Very, very cool. And I band glued that, just so I have to have this huge box. Cutting that in half, but since I've got some weird geometry, the L will not cut it, so we will cut it with a knife tool, so we'll go to our multiply tab. Interesting. We're filling on this. I wonder if I. Got it. And I'm going back in and centering things. Do that layer by layer. Look. Flatten them there. And we'll make this as long as we feel we need to. Really. You can even double glue it into the bottom there. Cool. So we're looking at so far. Yep. I was thinking maybe we were overlapping a little more. Okay, there. Oh, see how that is. I think that's probably about as good as I'm gonna now. Might purposely squash some give the look. I don't know. Something a little bit like that. Smooth out that bit. Okay, so now that we have that, and we're gonna save. We're gonna save as gonna our little I turn symmetry back on. I would just single I mean, the shape is nice, but at the same time, like, this comes down into the thing, which they're going to be a little bit of us. Oh, let's try. It's got a weird thing going on, which is that bit, huh? Alright, so we just need to make the crystal and it gets stuck down in the right place. Ah, too far out. Alright, so look at our reference. And I don't think that points in. I think we're just looking at it being kind of flat across. I think that would be more accurate. Alright, so we're gonna create a box. How far does this box eat? How are you trying to be way bigger than I told you to be? That's not the size I want my box. Alright. Time to pull open the numeric window. Just do 50 millimeters, not meters. That's way too big. Okay. So after we tab it, it's probably gonna. Okay. Then just do a quick rough shape and then. Symmetry off. And very rough shape. Kind of fun in its own right. Don't want to give yourself too much geometry because then it's harder to do the shape. Trying to get a nice smooth line on the inside. Not any weird dips between points. While I'm using the picture, of course, as a guide, being in mind the actual shape. Be important. See, my interpretation of the image is that it's actually kind of flat in the middle of having, you know, a rounded bevel. another. And we need to but added our extra. But then again, pain in the butt. I don't know. So I think we'll go more touch up this way. We're getting there. But probably put some sort of peg system into the other part. Oh, I ended up way off center. and then I'll try and match the resting parts to it. And pretty much it, guys. I'm gonna need to do a little bit more tweaking, but I think this video has gone on long enough. I may go ahead and just end it here. Try one more thing before I have you leave ya. This tool shrinks things, but it does it within the, you know, it does, instead of just shrinking everything towards the center, it shrinks towards the kind of the shape of the object a little bit more. Not quite what I want to do. But I'll play with that a little bit more, and when I get it hopefully done, I'll put a link into but keep an eye on my Etsy shop and my Patreon for pictures of when I finally get this thing printed and whatnot. But for now, we'll do some more tweaks a little bit later off camera. Maybe some nice images. But pretty good so far. Couple of hours. Let's see what our total time is. Just a little over almost 2.5 hours. Not bad. But alright, so thanks for joining me, guys, and I'll catch you next time. So go out and be crafty and have a great day.